right here. 3, 2, 1. Guys, we are live. It is Thursday night. Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to another live edition of Believers Talk. I already see we got some people in here. Jacob, welcome. How you doing? Glad to see you in here. Guys, we have plenty, and I mean plenty, of Bills news and NFL news to get into today. I know that the thumbnail says that we're going to talk about what Brandon Beane said about Devin Singletary, and we are. I know that it talks about the PI challenge possibly being changed by the NFL and talking about that, and we are. But so much has happened today. I mean, you're talking about the Rams trade with the Houston Texans. Who made out better? A lot of people on Twitter are talking about the Diggs compared to the Cooks trade and who made out better. We'll talk about that if you guys want to talk about that. Also, some other Bills news. A coach from the Buffalo Bills gets much deserved recognition. So we'll talk about him. We'll congratulate him. Spencer, welcome. Kenneth, glad you guys are in here. Like I said, there's going to be plenty to talk about. And then, of course, we're going to talk about whatever questions you guys might have. Anything you guys want to talk about, Buffalo Bills related or Buffalo sports related, we're here to talk about it. Guys, we are exactly 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. That's right, 2 weeks from right now. We're all going to be sitting in front of our TVs or in front of a computer screen listening and watching the NFL draft, and I am very excited. I know that the Buffalo Bills do not have a first round draft pick, and that has us bummed a little bit, but we know there's going to be plenty of excitement at the NFL draft. Now, we know that this draft is going to be very different due to the virus that I can't mention on air, but we know what we're talking about going around, and we know it's going to be a virtual draft. Over 50 prospects going to be at this virtual draft, going to be making the experience fun for all of us, right? And if anyone knows how to do it right, it's the NFL. So I'm sure that they have something in the works. Hey, if the WWE can pull off WrestleMania, I'm sure the NFL will do something special for the draft. So again, guys, thank you for joining me as you are coming in. I see there's a few of you in here now. Make sure you hit that like button. Let other people know you are here. If you were just on the Don Mafia, Dan Mitchell did his live stream up until 9, I believe it was. So I'm glad that you guys can hop on here, get double dip of your Buffalo Bills news here on this Thursday night. Let me get to some of these comment sections. Hey, Joe Kenneth, Joe Geddes says, hey, Joe, how you doing? Let's effing go, Jack Patrick. What time is it there? 4 or 5 o'clock? Awesome. Thank you for joining me. Daniel's in here. How you doing? Jacob, do I think the Bills should draft a QB in the 6th or 7th round? Let's talk about the draft, guys. If you're just joining this channel, please note that I'm doing a little bit of a history of the draft picks that the Buffalo Bills currently have. I started yesterday with the 54th overall pick. I did one today on the 86th overall pick. I hope you guys enjoy those videos. If you haven't watched them yet, it talks about previous Buffalo Bills picks at those picks and the recent history of picks in the NFL over the past 10 years. So make sure you check them out. It's just an interesting thing to do. Did you know that for example, that the 86th pick, whoever's held the 86th pick for the past 7 years has gone offense, right? So for the past 7 years, it's been an offensive player taken at 86. Some great. We're talking about David Johnson. We're talking about Mark Andrews, tight end at Baltimore. Some really great players taken at 86. So make sure you check it out. And a Bills Hall of Famer, a Buffalo Bill who signed that helmet right there, was drafted by the Bills at 86 at one time. So make sure you check out that video if you haven't already. But talking about the 6th and 7th rounds, guys, last time we drafted a quarterback on day 3, it was Nathan Peterman. We got Nathan Peterman, I believe, in the 5th round, quarterback out of Pitt. We all know how that turned out for us, right? Now, am I saying that there's no decent backups in the NFL draft? No, I think Nathan Peterman actually would have been a great backup in the NFL. He's a good backup in the NFL. The problem was he was projected to be the starter for the Buffalo Bills, and I just don't think that's ever going to work. But I don't think that the Buffalo Bills need to go after quarterback in the 6th or 7th round. Guys, and I know some people in here have been talking about it. Dan's chat ended about 40 minutes ago. Yeah, and I was glad to be a part of that. But to talk about the QB situation, I'm not upset with our QB situation the way it is right now. We have 3 quarterbacks. We have Webb back there as the 3rd string quarterback, kind of a multifaceted guy. Last time Webb was on the Buffalo Bills, played a lot of special teams, so we could really use him at multiple places on the team roster. And then you talk about why can't I think about Why can't I think of our backup quarterback's name? That's why. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing sometimes. I know our backup quarterback, for some reason, I can't think of his name, but I like him. I like him. I think, he blew out the Jets 2 years ago, beating them like 41-10. And then last year, unfortunately, he came in week 17 and didn't do a good enough job, and we lose that game. But you have to think about that game. It had a bunch of backups in that game, right? All of our backups were in that game, had no starters. Talk about the game 2 years ago they played against the Jets, where we beat them, 41-10, I believe it was. And he did a good job. He did a great job in that game, had every other starter in that game. So again, is there room for improvement? There is always going to be room for improvement. But what I'd like to see actually is I would like to see us leave this draft without a 6th or 7th pick at all. I'd like to see us use those picks to help us move up in the 2nd and 3rd round, bundle some picks together maybe, and move up a little bit if we can. Maybe get some more extra picks next year as well. But we have 2 6th round picks, so I think the Bills are set up great to go after best player available, position of need. And QB just is not position of need. Now, you could go QB in the 6th, 7th round, maybe take a flyer on somebody. But Matt Barkley, thank you, Daniel. Matt Barkley. But we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens in the NFL draft. But I think right now the Bills are in a good position to take best player available. And if they feel like the best player available in the 6th round is a quarterback, pick one up. Take a flyer on a guy. You just never know. Because let's be honest about it. More than likely, if you look at this Buffalo Bills roster right now, your 6th and 7th round draft picks are not going to make the roster, right? So if you do get a quarterback, put him on the practice squad. Very possible, to answer Jacob's question, we put him on a practice squad for 1 or 2 years. Matt Barkley is no longer with the Bills. Maybe he's learned enough at that point to back up a guy like Josh Allen. So could they go quarterback in the 6th round or 7th round? Absolutely. Would I be upset if they didn't? Upset if they didn't? No, I think that in the 6th, 7th round, take best player available according to your standards, your big board as the GM and as the management of the Buffalo Bills, and do what you can to get him into the best NFL shape, get him as NFL ready as you can. Again, you do have that 10-player practice squad that you can use for a draft pick that you get in the 6th or 7th round. That's what we saw Voshon Joseph a lot last year on that practice squad, right? Because that's a way for players to develop. And if I remember correctly, teams are going to get 2 extra players on their practice squad with the new CBA. So now you're talking about 12 players on the practice squad to help out with potentially having someone come in like a backup quarterback for when Matt Barkley is no longer with the team. So thank you, Jacob, for that question. LeBron comes in. You guys seen the Texans trade for Cooks? Yeah, we're going to talk about that because already on Twitter I'm seeing people say how the Cooks trade is better than the Diggs trade, and I'm not sure I'm on board with that. I think the Buffalo Bills still got the better out of the 2 deals, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. Just trying to let everyone get in here and reading through some of these comments. But again, guys, thank you. Keep the comments coming. I really do appreciate you guys coming in here. What do I think about getting a big nickel safety like Duggar at 54? The Bills are nickel most of the time. You are correct. They are nickel most of the time. Although I hear Duggar's name slightly moving up the board. Don't know if he's going to be available at 54. But you also, again, have to consider the Buffalo Bills moving up. Guys, I will be doing a full first-round mock draft and a full Buffalo Bills mock draft coming up here. Probably release those videos probably about a week before the NFL draft to get you guys ready, get you guys psyched. Again, the draft just 2 weeks away, so I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. And guys, I'm also excited about the optimism I'm hearing from around the world about this virus that has taken hold. And again, as I always say in my videos, make sure you guys are being safe out there. We do have some things to share about that, and let's get into that first. Let's get the sad news out of the way and move on to the happy news as this thing goes on. Let me go through the comments real quick, and we'll get to those. Again, guys, if there's a comment you want me to read as the chat keeps going, I appreciate it. Just hit that super chat button, and I'll make sure that your comments get preference to any other comments. And I'll make sure that that money that you donate to the channel will go directly back into the channel to give you guys the best Buffalo news that I can. So again, I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys. But the biggest thing you can do to help out the channel is simply hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I really do appreciate that. Kenneth comes in. I'm a little out of the loop with all that's been going on. Well, come here and we'll get you back in the loop, Kenneth. Don't worry about it. Jacob, who do I think the Bills will take at 54? You'll have to watch my mock draft video. I think that there are plenty of options available, and there's a possibility the Bills don't draft at 54. I truly believe the Buffalo Bills may look to draft up from that 54th spot. Although when I do my mock draft, maybe I'll do 2 mock drafts. Maybe I'll do one with trades, one without. Let me know what you guys think if you want to see me do 2 mock drafts. Normally I just do 1. If you've been a fan of this channel before, you know I only do things 1 time. I am not here to do things a bunch of time. Remember, just 2 months ago, there were people pointing out mock drafts about what the Buffalo Bills were going to do with the 22nd overall pick. Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. And I just, want to try to avoid having to do more work than I have to, because we all know how much I love doing work for this channel, but sometimes you got to do family first, so that's what you have to focus on. But yeah, Jacob, watch my mock draft video, probably coming out next week sometime, and I'll tell you who I think the Bills are taking at 54, if that player is available. I think is the key as well. But I do not think they're going to go wide receiver first. So if that gives you a little hint, then that's what I'm going to say there. I don't think the Buffalo Bills will go wide receiver first unless one of the key wide receivers falls to 54 or falls to a place in the draft where they feel comfortable trading up for him. So that's what I'll say about the 54th overall pick. William, who do I think is the most underrated player in this draft that can fall into the 3rd or 4th round? Pre-combine, I did think that Chase Claypool was the most underrated player in this NFL draft. I am a huge Notre Dame fan. When I'm not watching the Buffalo Bulls on Saturday, I'm watching the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they were projecting him in the 4th or 5th round. And I really thought that he was underrated. Then, of course, everyone knows that he balled out in the NFL Combine, and you just knew that things were going to be going pretty well for him. Another guy I like, and I forget his first name, but a defensive end / linebacker out of Michigan, I believe he's Ansah. I forget his first name, Ansah, I believe is his last name. I watched him at the Senior Bowl as I look it up. Nope, I was looking at Ziggy Ansah. Is that it? So, let me see here. Let me see who I'm talking about. You guys know I don't know what I'm talking about half the time, right? So, but there are some defensive ends that I think that I like in this draft. Michigan defensive end, NFL draft 2020. Let me look that up for you guys. I'm sure someone's already letting me know who I'm talking about. But yeah. Out of Michigan, that's an offensive lineman. Josh Uche, U-C-H-E. That's what I was talking about. Linebacker, 6'1", 241 pounds. Huge fan of him. So that's another guy I think might be underrated that could go in the 3rd or 4th round. Again, guys, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as you enter. I really do appreciate it. Got a lot to talk about. I'm just reading through some of these comments right now, and then we'll talk about what Brandon Beane had to say about Devin Singletary. We'll talk about the new pass interference, possible changes with the challenge of pass interference, and some other things that I do want to talk about in this video. In my opinion, Barkley is a good backup quarterback. I agree. He's a system quarterback. He knows the system. He gets along well with Josh Allen, gets along well with the coaching staff. I don't think we have a problem there. The Texans are saying their own 2nd round pick, 57 to the Rams for Cooks. The Texans will keep the 40th pick from the Cardinals when the DeAndre Hopkins deal is finalized. Come from Daniel, so thanks for the update there. We got the best wide receiver possible for pick 22. That's absolutely Steve Hampton. We'll talk more about that trade. Rams gave up Cooks. Wow, says Kenneth. Yeah, Rams gave up Cooks. You look at that. They need draft picks, right? They gave up so many draft picks 2 years ago when they tried to go to the Super Bowl and win it. Obviously, they lose to the Patriots 13-3, I believe, final score or something like that. And they gave up a lot of draft picks for Jalen Ramsey, for Brandon Cooks, for all those players that they gave up, that they brought in to hopefully help Sean McVay win a Super Bowl. And it didn't happen, and unfortunately, like Ndamukong Suh left, and other players had to leave because there's just not enough money to go around. And now they're trying to get draft picks back. They're trying to get draft capital back to help this team revamp whatever ways they have to. William says Claypool. Again, I hope Claypool falls to a 3rd round to the Buffalo Bills. I believe that 54 is a little bit early to get Claypool. I really do. Obviously, Claypool, everyone fell in love with him at the NFL Combine, and I understand that. But if you look at his tape, and just look at his tape, he's a 3rd to 4th round talent. And so I hope that he lasts till the 3rd round. Even if he lasts till early in the 3rd round and the Buffalo Bills consider trading up for him, I'm good with that. I just don't know if he's worth that 54th overall pick or 57th or whatever it is. Hey, Truth to Heart, it's good to see you in here. I can't hit the thumbs up button. I don't have thumbs. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you can just hit the like button. Just hit it with your index finger. You can hit it. The Fish comes in, and I'm not going to repeat what he said because I don't care about politics all that much, at least not on this channel. This channel's not about politics, it's about Buffalo sports. And I said we'd talk about the sad news first, and what I do want to talk about is something that happened in Buffalo Bills news that I didn't know until today. WGR talked about tight end, Buffalo Bills tight end, former tight end Mark Campbell went on to WGR today to talk about his fight with the virus that is going around. And obviously, it's sad to see anyone fighting this virus, but to see it hit close to home. Former Buffalo Bills player Mark Campbell talks about how his fight with the virus that's going around. Glad to see that. Glad to see that he is doing better and that he's able to join those guys during that interview and talk about it a little bit. Guys, it's a very serious situation. And again, we wish him and everyone else who is going through this battle right now nothing but the best. We're gonna be here for you. We're gonna just hang out. Obviously, give you guys a distraction if you need a distraction. Talk some Buffalo Bills football. But yeah, former Buffalo Bills tight end Mark Campbell talked about his fight with the virus that's going on right now, and just to hear him doing better and to hear him be able to talk about this it really helps others who might be going through the same situation. So we appreciate just hearing former tight end Mark Campbell talking about that. Let's keep it Bills related. Absolutely, Daniel, I completely agree with that. Steve comes in and says, I'd like to get a kicker in the 6th or 7th round. Remember last year we got a kicker in undrafted free agent kicker at Penn State, I believe it was. Came into training camp and competed with Steven Hauschka a little bit. I think it was McLaughlin. Actually did spend some time in the NFL. I think it was with Tampa Bay for a little bit. And Sam Fran, he was a part of that Monday night game against Seattle. I remember that. So obviously the Buffalo Bills were looking at kicker last year. Is that place that we look at again? I would love to see us, if we're talking about special teams, I would love to see us pick up a punter either late in the draft or undrafted free agency. Really help out the Buffalo Bills to continue to work on special teams, as we've seen in free agency with a couple of these signings like Tawan Jones for one. The Buffalo Bills are focusing on on special teams. Brandon Beane said he would like to see special teams get better. Would like to see the special teams get to an elite level. He didn't say a good level. He didn't say a great level. He wants to see the special teams come to an elite level. He wants to see a top 5 special teams unit. Imagine having a top 5 special teams unit, a top 5 defensive unit, and a top 10 offensive unit. That's what we're looking for in Buffalo, and you're really talking about some good teams if you can get all 3 of those in the top 10. I really believe that. Wishing him the best. Absolutely, yeah. I'm glad to see that he's doing better and that he was able to go on to WGR 550 to talk about his battle. And again, glad to see he's doing better. I do think we're going to pick up a quarterback in this draft as a safety net. Again, I don't know what's wrong with Matt Barkley. I don't know why everyone's talking about Matt Barkley as not a good backup. Again, last time he played with the starters on the roster, on the team, I should say, with him, he ended up whooping the Jets. So I don't know why people hate on Matt Barkley, but hey, if we get a quarterback, again, someone that you can put on the practice squad, especially since the practice squad is being bumped up from 10 to 12 players, can do that. Could look for an upgrade at punter late in the draft, yeah, or an undrafted free agency. Either way, I'm good. Local kid Jake Delegala would be a sweet backup quarterback if the Bengals let him go. Similar height and speed to Allen and has huge hometown value. So does the guy from Buffalo last year, right? University of Buffalo, Jackson. We could have used him, and we actually signed him as an undrafted free agent. So, he has some ties to Buffalo as well. Maybe we bring him back. We saw that he was in the XFL for a little bit. Now, we don't know what's going on with the XFL once everything gets back to normal, but we do know that he's been keeping in football shape. So that's another guy you can still look at and bring back to camp. Where's Charles Clay playing? Where is Charles Clay playing? Miss him? I don't miss him at all, but I think last I heard he was playing with the Arizona Cardinals. That's where he went after Buffalo, at least. I don't know if he went somewhere this offseason or not, but last I heard he was with the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, of course, came better this offseason. Not only do they have Larry Fitzgerald, but they also have DeAndre Hopkins now, so that might be something to help Charles Clay maybe get a little more open. Defenses won't be focusing on him at all because you have so many offensive weapons to consider on that team. Daniel says he was in Arizona last season. Yeah, he was in Arizona. I love Barkley, but why not get someone younger and learn under him? No, that's right, because Barkley's only going to be around for 2 more years, and then, are we going to re-sign him or not? That's a question that you have to ask. And if we don't need to resign him, we got this young kid from the 6th round who was on the practice squad for 2 years learning the system. Bring him up if you think he has some promise and he can back up Josh Allen. There was a kid that started in New England who did pretty well, and he was a 6th-round pick when he backed up a great starting quarterback in Drew Bledsoe. So let's see if we can create some magic there again. I don't think you'll ever find someone to match that type of career, but you can find a good backup who can get the job done if he's put in that starting position. Do I think having Roberts run out the ball on virtually every kickoff helped or hurt our special teams field position last season? Well, you have to remember, Andre Roberts was a Pro Bowler last season. He did finish in the top 10 in kick return yards. I do think that, or average kick return, I do think that he needs to learn to take a touchback every once in a while. Starting at 25 is not a terrible thing, but you have to understand he's trying to create something. He's trying to let something happen. But I think towards the end of the season, he did a much better job kneeling it back there than he did the first half of the season. And I do want to see that a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want to set your offense up too far behind. If you could start at least at the 25, that's awesome. You want to start at least at the 20, and if you get a kick return back to like the 10, 15, you're really talking about trouble for the offense. So you do want to see him take a touchback when he can, if he sees an opening or if he feels like the team needs a spark and wants to take it out. I'm okay with that every once in a while. But again, he was a Pro Bowler last season, so I'm not sure what more we can ask for from our punt and kick returner. And it's nice to have the same guy return punts and kicks. You don't have to use 2 roster spots. We've done that in the past too, and it's really nice to know we have one guy who we can trust back there. 2 seasons ago, there were a few fumbles back there on kick and punt returns. So it's, and I didn't have that concern going into last season. Most of last season, whenever there was a kick or punt return, I felt safe with Andre Roberts back there, knowing that he's more than likely not going to turn the ball over. He might not get the most return yards. He might not do the best job, but he's not going to turn the ball over. And that's what I'm most concerned about when I look at special teams. Joshua comes in. Welcome, Joshua. What kind of stats does Josh Allen need to obtain this season to secure his future as a Buffalo Bills starting quarterback? Well, so if you want to talk about a contract extension, I think he needs to complete at least, and to me, the number that matters most this season for Josh Allen is, well, there's 2. Touchdown to turnover ratio and completion percentage. The yards, meh, not worried about that. If he throws for 300 yards in a game or whatever, I'm not worried about that. If he can get his completion percentage up to 62%, that's only 4 percentage points more than last season. Actually, I think it's only like 3.2 percentage points more than last season. 62% would be just fine by me. I think that would be a good indicator that he's constantly improving. And I would say if he has a touchdown to interception ratio of over 2.5 to 1, maybe closer to 3 to 1 or 3.5 to 1, then I think he's going to be all right. I don't think he needs to improve on his rushing totals. In fact, I would like to see him pass the ball more and not run the ball so much. But I think if he gets that completion percentage up to about 62% and has maybe a 3 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, I think that would go a long way into helping Josh Allen get contract extension with the Buffalo Bills. But I do look to see him getting that extension at the end of next season if he gets it at all. But if he has the type of season he had last season, I feel like then the Buffalo Bills will want to see more out of him. Does Bobby Foster get any love this season? He had a weird rise and fall. Last year, he was suffering with an injury during preseason, and that may have affected his fall a little bit. I honestly don't think so, though. I think with the addition of Diggs, we might not be seeing Foster all that much. I think the only way we see Foster, and I talked about this on an episode that I did with #SportsMario. We did a collab, so go over there and check out the channel. The only way Foster gets a look at the 53-man roster is if we trade Andre Roberts. Now, is that likely? I don't know. Or better yet, just trade one of the other wide receivers in that group. I think I did a little bit of a breakdown on the wide receiver group. We know Brown, Beasley, and Diggs are safe, right? So we know 3 players are safe. Now, are the Buffalo Bills going to keep 6 wide receivers? Because they only kept 5 last year. So out of McKenzie, Roberts, Foster, Williams, whoever we end up drafting, you got Nick Easley. There's a lot of wide receivers going after possibly 2, maybe 3 spots. And I think Rob Foster's on the outside looking in right now if he impresses during camp and preseason. And also another determining factor in that is how much camp and preseason are these NFL teams going to get? Or are you going to have less time to impress, right? Are you going to have less time to impress due to the fact that we're not going to have OTAs? We're not going to have camp the way we normally do, and we might not have preseason games the way we normally do. So that's really going to restrict what the coaching staff can see in these players, and it's really going to restrict these players from balling out during those times when they can. One mistake might be one mistake too many if you're on the roster bubble right now, and you might not get a chance. Maybe you get picked up by another team, but you might not get a chance on the current team that you're on. All Josh Allen has to do is play good enough where we are comfortable saying he's the future quarterback. Stats don't mean anything, especially when you're well-rounded like the Bills. Truth darts to that, if Josh Allen finishes with the stats I just said he finishes with, and the Bills go 6-10, I think that's going to be a disappointing season. I think that's going to be a little bit of a letdown. Now, I think that both GM Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott's jobs are safe for at least one season. I mean, talking about Coach McDermott leading this team to 2 playoff appearances in 3 years, that's something the Bills haven't seen since, Wade Phillips. So we really enjoyed seeing that. We want to see more of that. So I think his job's safe for at least one season, but you do want to see improvement. And of course, the Buffalo Bills, in many people's minds, the favorite to win the AFC East. So we'll see what happens. Roberts has to make good decisions. Running out is not always the best thing. No, you're absolutely right, Daniel. It's not. Andre Roberts is that. I don't think Andre Roberts is that good. He always made me nervous. See, I had the opposite feeling. He never made me nervous when it came to turning the ball over. I actually felt pretty comfortable that he was not going to the ball. He had no turnovers last season, I recall. Not a single one. So when you have that kind of production back there, that's a good thing. Again, remember 2018. You had, I believe it was Ray McLeod back there at times looking like a fool. You had Isaiah McKenzie back there. He at least had 2 fumbles, I remember, on punt returns. You had Micah Hyde back there who knows how to catch a ball, but do you trust him returning it, and do you want him returning the ball, risking injuries to your safety? I don't, so we'll see what happens. But again, I think out of that wide receiving core, the one guy you can trade is probably Andre Roberts to get a decent return for your investment. Allen and the offense needs to get the red zone conversion up above all else. Steve Hampton, you're absolutely right. Last year at the beginning of the season, our red zone percentage was on fire. We actually started off really good. I think going into that Cleveland game, our red zone percentage was in the 70s, maybe even low 80s. But then the back end of the schedule hit us, and we just couldn't get in the end zone. It was rough that second half of the season. I wouldn't mind signing one of the XFL QBs to the practice squad. Some weren't that bad. Again, if you look at Jackson from Buffalo, he was in the XFL, played for the DC Defenders, I believe, and he didn't do that bad of a job. So bring in Tyree Jackson back, put him back on the practice squad, see what happens. If you remember last year during OTAs and during training camp, Tyree Jackson was the first player on the field and the last player to leave every single day. That's the type of commitment I want out of my third-string quarterback. Someone who I know is going to be there every single day to learn the playbook, to watch film, to learn from a Matt Barkley, to learn from a Josh Allen, and try to continue to get better. That's what I love to see. Foster, McKenzie, Williams, and Roberts are all replaceable in my opinion, and I think those 4 are fighting for 2 jobs, so we'll see what happens. Let's go Buffalo, says Timothy. Absolutely, and with that, I'm going to start talking about some of the other notes that I had from today. Again, we talked about Mark Campbell fighting with the virus that he had going on WGR today to talk about his fight. Probably uplifted a lot of people in the Buffalo area, a lot of people who listen to WGR who might be going through that same fight. So glad to see he's doing better. And if you know someone who's suffering from this virus, I hope they're doing better too. And my prayers and thoughts definitely go out to you. The next thing I wanted to talk about in this video, and I wanted to say congratulations. Congratulations to the Buffalo Bills strength and conditioning coach. The NFL recognized Eric Ciano on being named the NFL Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. So Eric Ciano has been the Buffalo Bills Strength and Conditioning Coach since 2011, guys. And according to reports, everyone in Buffalo thought he deserved this award. First time he's been the recipient of the NFL's Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. So guys, let's give a warm Coach McDermott round of applause to Coach Eric Ciano, the Buffalo Bills Strength and Conditioning Coach, for winning NFL Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. Congratulations, guys. Give him, in the comment section, just give him a good quick thumbs up, or just give him a good yay real quick, just to appreciate all of the coaching staff that Buffalo has, right? I know we love Coach McDermott. I know we love defensive coordinator and assistant head coach Leslie Frazier. I know that when the Buffalo Bills perform, and this is one of those guys that makes sure that weight room is ready to go when the guys go in there. This is one of those guys that when players are coming back from injury, he puts them on a regimen that says, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is the order that you're going to do it, and this is the progress we expect to see from you to be able to get back on this team. So this is one of the guys that he's really an unsung hero a lot of the time, but you really want to give him thanks and praise when he's recognized by the NFL as one of the best in the NFL. So congratulations to him. Dan comes in with a hooray. Absolutely, guys. Just good to see Buffalo getting recognition, not just on the forefront, but in the background as well. Hey, Elliot, how you doing? Welcome to Believers Talk. Glad you can make it. Someone just put a question out there, so I'll go back to the comments after we get done. Again, Eric Stiano, Buffalo Bills strength and conditioning coach, named the NFL Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. So congratulations to him. Who out of our new guys do you think will surprise us the most this season? To be honest, I think one guy, and I'm not going to remember his name off the top of my head because I know it's just hard to pronounce. One guy that a lot of you might not know right now who's going to really impress is that linebacker or from formerly of the Steelers, the guy that's on the special teams, Tyler, begins with an M. I'm gonna mess up his name if I want to say it. I know it ends in like Mekovich or something like that. So I think he's really going to impress. Especially on the special teams front. I think that people don't know his name, like myself, all too well, and he's going to make an impact for the Buffalo Bills. Again, last year for the Steelers, he had 2 blocked punts. And for a guy to have, there were teams that didn't have 2 block punts last season. This guy had 2 by himself. So for a guy to be able to do that, really switch his field position around. A block punt is a huge play in a game. You guys know that it's a tide turning type play if a team's down, if a team feels like they're out of it, or in a back and forth defensive battle, which the Bills should be in playing those next season. A block punt could be the difference between winning and losing the game. So I believe that he is going to come in and he is going to be a surprise to a lot of Buffalo Bills fans. I am most excited about Addison besides Diggs. I'm excited about Diggs. I'm excited about all of them, but I think that Tyler is going to impress a lot of people. Truth Art says, if Josh Allen struggles, but we still get to the Super Bowl, do we still look for another QB? I don't think so, and it depends what you mean by struggles, right? I mean, Joe Flacco struggled the season they went to the Super Bowl until they made the playoffs. Obviously, if you made the Super Bowl, that means you're beating elite competition. That means you got through Kansas City, whether you beat Kansas City or Kansas City fell to another team, but that means that you had to beat the team that beat Kansas City. So you see how that works. If the Buffalo Bills run a gauntlet and make it to the Super Bowl, and that means beating either Kansas City or Baltimore or a team like Pittsburgh or a team like even like Houston or Tennessee, if you beat one of those teams or 2 of those teams, it's hard to replace your starting quarterback at that point. Our offense is not as bad as like the 2000 Baltimore team who won the Super Bowl and then changed their quarterback right after that. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but just make sure it doesn't get that bad. But again, it depends what you mean by struggles. But if we make it to the Super Bowl, I don't think we can replace Josh Allen. Now, if we make it to the Super Bowl and Josh Allen struggles, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't restructure his contract. That's another story. Remember, we'll have that 5th-year option on Josh Allen, so we still have 2 or 3 years with him if we sign that 5th-year option. Plus, we could franchise tag him if we're still unsure after that 5th season. So we'll see what happens. But if we make it to the Super Bowl, I would not be surprised if the Buffalo Bills extend Josh Allen no matter how badly he plays, just because of his leadership capabilities. He has proven to be a leader on the field, and I think that goes unnoticed sometimes. Again, we have plenty of examples of that, of him jumping over Anthony Barr, him reaching in a pile to pick up a fumble for a first down on 4th and 1, him fighting a face mask week 16 against New England and still getting a first down, or face mask that wasn't called, by the way. And speaking of penalties that are not being called, that's actually a perfect segue into the next topic. The next topic I want to talk about is the NFL and the pass interference challenge. So remember in 2018 in the NFC Championship game, the New Orleans Saints had the lead against the Los Angeles Rams, I should say. And late in that game, there was a egregious pass interference call that should have been called, pass interference play, I should say, that should have been called that was not. So to appease Sean Payton, Coach Payton, and the New Orleans Saints, the NFL created a new rule that you can challenge pass interference calls in 2019. A lot of fans were not happy about it going into the season, and as the season wore on, it didn't get any better. A lot of fans were still not happy about it. Let me know if you enjoyed or if you were happy about the rule change that you could challenge pass interference calls. Just type yes or no in the comment section. Let me know if you were happy that you could challenge pass interference calls in 2019. In 2019, pass interference was challenged 101 times. Guys, the average time of a review in the NFL last season was slightly under 3 minutes. So when you talk about 101 challenges, you're talking over 300 minutes, or for better math, over 4.5 hours of challenge time just spent on pass interference calls. Now, sometimes they went to commercial break, yada, 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 but that's still a lot of time spent watching a screen looking at pass interference calls. Out of those 101, 24 of them were overturned. So 24, obviously, 23.8%, something like that. So you do have to consider that it did make an impact at some point in the NFL. However, as of week 9 last year, only 5 of the 54 challenges for pass interference were overturned. That's less than 10%. Less than 10% of pass interference challenges were overturned. And we saw some pretty obvious pass interference calls not changed. In fact, when some NFL experts were talking about the new PI challenge, they thought to themselves, or they thought out loud, I should say, in a report, that even if they had been able to challenge the call, New Orleans would not have gotten the call in that NFC Championship game. So it begs the question, did this pass interference change make a difference? The fact that you could challenge pass interference in 2019 didn't really make a difference, other than upsetting the fan base, other than making the game even harder to watch. Because again, there's so many penalties in today's game, so many different things to slow the game down. I just like a good, hard-fought game that does not continue to slow down. But the last 7 weeks of the season, 19 of the 47 calls were overturned. Challenges were overturned for over 40%. That's over 40%. So obviously, after week 9, someone in the higher ups of the NFL said we have to change this because it does not matter right now. But it seemed like it was too little too late, as according to Ian Rappaport and others on Twitter, stating that the NFL is looking to get rid of the PI rule that allowed the pass interference call to be challenged. So we'll see if that happens. There are going to be some other rule changes. We'll keep you informed right here on Believers Talk. But I did want to take a moment to talk about that and see if you guys had any thoughts on pass interference no longer being challengeable. If you guys like that idea, if you guys enjoyed the fact that some egregious pass interference calls could be challenged, but what's the point challenging them if you're going to lose? And speaking of challenges, while I was looking this up, I came across a very interesting number. Right now in Coach McDermott's career, or coaching career, I should say, in 3 seasons, Coach McDermott is 3 for 15 on challenges, just 20% on challenges. Most coaches are somewhere between 35 and 45%. Coach McDermott is 3 out of 15 in his NFL career so far. That's not good, guys. And I realize, and there are other coaches that do this too, I realize that sometimes when he threw the challenge flag, it was because he was going to use a timeout anyway, and that he would use that time for it as a timeout anyhow. And if it was a questionable play, or if he thought maybe it was something that could be overturned, throw the challenge flag. The worst that can happen is you get your timeout basically, and you lose that challenge. It's worth it if you have any questions, but still, 3 out of 15, you do have to be concerned about that. As a coach, you hope that he does get better as his years go on. I mean, we see some coaches that seem to nail challenges every single time, and we don't want to see the game being slowed down for no reason. And when you're only 20% challenges, it seems like you're trying to pick and choose when you're challenging things. Not always the best time. So pick and choose wiser. Hopefully that Coach McDermott can get better. And that's still one of Coach McDermott's biggest bugaboos, if I could say that, is time management. We saw a few times last year questionable time management towards the ends of halves, ends of games, and then with the challenges. So, everyone makes fun because it comes from the Andy Reid tree, and one of the biggest knocks on Andy Reid as a head coach was and is time management. So that seemed to have rubbed off on Coach McDermott. Hopefully he gets better on that aspect, and that's the one thing that I wish Coach McDermott would get better on. Obviously his challenges, I want him to win more than 20%. But another good thing would be to have better time management, have better clock management. Don't be afraid to go for a score towards the end of a half. A few things that I would like to see. When you get to some of your comments, Elliot comes in. Elliot's dominating the chat right now. I love how this team is ready to run through a wall for Allen, who's done nothing but embrace Buffalo and show solid improvement. Yet there's so many doubters even within our fan base. Boggles my mind. Again, I love his intangibles, right? His leadership skills. And you're right. These guys are willing to jump through a wall, jump over a wall for Josh Allen. I mean, I always think about that game against the Tennessee Titans last season. Duke Williams catching that touchdown pass. End of the game, who is running to give Duke Williams the game ball? That's right, Josh Allen. Who's yelling, "I love you, Duke," in the tunnel? Josh Allen. Okay, Josh Allen is a player's quarterback. You hear about players, coaches. He's a player's quarterback. Players love him, love playing for him. And again, he has those intangibles. He has that determination. He has that toughness. He has that raw ability to make things happen on the field. I just want to continue to see him improve. I'm not doubting him. I think he can do it. You're talking about a guy whose completion percentage went from 53% 2 years ago to 58% this past season. So do that again. Get up to 64% completion percentage. I know you can do it with Stephon Diggs there. There's no more excuses to get the job done to help this team win a division. Guys, remember, if the Buffalo Bills win this division, it's going to be the first time the Buffalo Bills win this division since, 1995? 95? I mean, come on. That has to be something that we're all excited about, and we'll host our first playoff game since 1995. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to do that, and I think Josh Allen is the guy who can get it done. Again, guys, chat's going crazy. I appreciate it. If there's something you want me to read, it will take precedence if you hit that super chat button. Helps out the channel greatly. So I do appreciate you guys coming in here and hanging out with me on this Thursday night edition of Believers Talk. Still want to get into what GM Brandon Beane said about Devin Singletary, get you guys' opinion on that and see what you guys have to say. So make sure you join the conversation right now and leave a comment. And again, I hope to get to you guys. So I'll talk to you in the comment section. If Knox caught it clean, I don't know what you're talking about there, Elliot. Obviously, you guys are having a conversation, which is awesome. We lost games because of bad pass interference calls on us. There were a lot of bad pass interference calls around the league last season still. So it's not like that really did anything for us. I mean, I still remember that DeAndre Hopkins penalty that he took in the Baltimore Ravens game. The game that Baltimore Ravens ended up blowing out Houston, but on their first drive, the Texans stormed downfield, had DeAndre Hopkins open. Whoever was covering him, the cornerback, had his arms wrapped all over DeAndre Hopkins. No pass interference call, challenged, upheld. It's just crazy the things that happen with that pass interference call. McD does need to develop more as a game day head coach. Absolutely. Head coaches who were defensive coordinators tend to be conservative on offense, and he can't afford to do that anymore, especially with this offense. This offense is made to be a 2-minute offense. This offense can get the job done. This offense is made for no huddle type stuff. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Buffalo Bills run the no huddle a little bit more. Have Brian Daboll up in that booth. We know how much when he was up in that booth, the Bills tried to get to the line quicker. They tried to get the snap faster. Josh Allen was able to hear Brian Daboll in his ear up until the snap because, again, you only have up the first 15 seconds or up to the 15-second mark of a play clock to be talking to the quarterback if you're the offensive coordinator. Looking at things for him, helping him out where you can help him out. So really like to see Josh Allen develop in that part of his game, reading a defense, and I think that'll go a long way, as we were talking about earlier about Josh Allen being extended further for the Buffalo Bills. Bills made our wide receiver coach the time clock management coach during games, and hopefully that works out for our advantage. I did see that this offseason we have moved some things around, but I still think it's going to be Coach McDermott's call, right? I think the wide receiver coach might be a bug in his ear, but I think at the end of the day it's still, because remember, he cannot call timeouts on the sideline. The only person that can call timeouts on the sideline is the head coach. Now when you're on the field, as far as I know, when you're on the field, any player can call a timeout. But on the sideline, the only person who can call a timeout and get it is the head coach. So you want to make sure that you remember that. So although you do have the offensive wide receivers coach as the time management coach, it still has to go through Coach McDermott. Steve writes to Daniel about something they were talking about, so I'm good. I'm mixed on Dable, says Elliot. Yeah, I mean, Brian Dable, you take the good with the bad, right? Obviously, when you went up to the booth, he did a lot better as an offensive coordinator. And now they have Stephon Diggs there. Again, now not only just Josh Allen not having any excuses, Brian Dable doesn't have any excuses either. Like, Brian Dable needs to be able to make sure this offense is clicking. If this offense is not top 15, at the least top 15 offense, then there's something wrong, whether it be Josh Allen, whether it be Brian Dable, whether it be this offensive line, whatever it is, or a combination of all three, whatever it is, it needs to change because there's no reason why this offense shouldn't be a top 10 offense. You look at the weapons we have. Stephon Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Singletary, Dawson Knox, and you have a guy who could throw the ball a mile, right? We all seen that Twitter video going where he threw the ball out 60 yards. It looked like it was effortless. Absolutely effortless. So we have a guy who can throw the ball a mile. We have 3 wide receivers who can get open, and we have a running back and a tight end who know how to get the job done too. So we need to see improvement from this offense. I expect to see it. Again, guys, thank you guys for joining me on Believers Talk. We're getting a little late here, but I appreciate it. I'm enjoying it. Thursday night, I actually don't work tomorrow either, so it works out, guys. So again, thank you guys for joining me. Glad to see Anthony just joining us here on Believers Talk. If you haven't already hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button. Really do appreciate it. Really does help out the channel. Truth to hearts, I disagree with him being conservative. You guys got to understand that Josh Allen is turnover prone, so to not hurt the defense, he made the appropriate calls. Josh Allen was not turnover prone the last 9 weeks of the season. Let's get that right. He had, 2 interceptions thrown. Now, I do remember the one game that we got a little fortunate. Was it the Cincinnati game early in the year where under 2 minutes we're trying to score and Josh Allen's running towards the sideline. He fumbles the ball. I think there was an inadvertent whistle on that play. The ball goes out of bounds. A lot of weird stuff happened on that play. It was challenged, but the Bills kept the ball, where I thought it actually looked like that the Bills shouldn't have kept the ball, but they did. And we do get lucky, and he does put the ball on the ground, but you still need to know when to take risks. You need to know when it's the appropriate time to take risks and to go for it. I think that he just needs to do a bad job of that from time to time. And, when you have 3 timeouts, in what game was it when he had 3 timeouts in the first half, didn't call any of them? And then we got the ball back with 50 seconds left instead of what could have been a minute 30 or a minute 50. It's that kind of stuff that really has me concerned with Coach McDermott. He needs to do better with that. And you need to have faith in your offense, right? You can't doubt your offense. You need to have faith that they can go down and score when they need to. Elliott comes in. Their play calling has been to protect Allen from making mistakes. A game manager this year, I think they'll let the reins loose. I hope so. I hope you're right, because I think that they are trying to protect Josh Allen. But you can't do that, especially in a year when you're talking about possibly having a contract extension, right? You're talking about extending Josh Allen. Well, you need to see exactly what he can do. When push comes to shove, what can he do? How many times have we seen Tom Brady with 2 minutes left? The New England Patriots offense for the longest time was the best in the league ever at scoring right before the end of a half and scoring at the beginning of the next half to make a comeback even harder, or to gain on a team, or to get the lead on a team, right? The best thing to do is when you get the ball in the second half is score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, right before the end of the half, and then be able to come out in the second half and score again. Really swings momentum of a game every single time. So you really need to try to do that a little bit better. Take those chances, take those risks, and see what happens. Do you think Dable is going to use Diggs like he uses Isaiah McKenzie? I don't, because I think that when you run Isaiah McKenzie in the jet sweep package all the time, it takes away from Isaiah McKenzie, in this case, Diggs' big threat capability, right? It takes him longer, because if you snap the ball and he's coming across the middle, you fake the handoff, and then he's still running sideways. He then still has to get upfield and run his route. So I think you're going to use Diggs for the most part as just a regular route running wide receiver. One of Stephon Diggs' strongest attributes is his route running capabilities, the way he can cut, the way he can run. So I would love to see them not use not use him in that way. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they use him in that way from time to time, right? Use him in that way from 2-3 plays a game just to keep defenses on their toes. But I think overall it's best to leave that to an Isaiah McKenzie, to possibly Ray McLeod or someone like that who can give. Robert Foster would be a great role for that as well. Josh Allen, you turn the ball over every game, either fumbles or interceptions. Again, first half of the season, I agree with you. I feel like second half of the season, he really buckled down and didn't turn the ball over as much. I know that he put the ball on the ground a lot. Sometimes the Bills recovered it, so we'd have to go back and absolutely look at those to be sure. But remember, he only had 2 interceptions his last 7 games of the season, if not more than that. So I think that his fumbles are an issue. But what needs to happen then? Is you need to pass the ball more. When you're talking about the end of a half, you're not running the ball or at least you shouldn't be running the ball. And if you are, that's on Brian Daboll. You have less than 2 minutes to go. You have 2 timeouts. You need to get 75 yards. You shouldn't be running the ball. You should be passing the ball. With our weapons, you should be passing the ball. And if you want to mix in a run to mess things up, Devin Singletary is your guy. You don't need to run Josh Allen in a 2-minute drill pretty much ever. Maybe a 4th and 1. You run him over the middle. But other than that, you never need to be running Josh Allen in a 2-minute drill. You have a run back for a reason. You have you have the best trio in the AFC at wide receivers, so why would you be running the ball with Josh Allen? And if he's not turning the ball over by interceptions, it should work out just fine. Consequence of the Diggs trade makes Trey White Defensive Player of the Year. Whoops, lol. Possibly. I hope so. He'll finally get the credit he deserves. He used Diggs like a number 1 wideout, not like a 34 wideout. Yeah, exactly. Diggs is going to be the number 1 guy, and I hope we continue to use him like that. So I do want to talk about one more thing, and then I'll get back to your comments, of course. First of all, again, guys, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. Make sure if you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. Show your support. I really do appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to Believers Talk, hit that subscribe button. A lot of great content coming your way as we are 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. And speaking of the NFL draft, a lot of Bills fans, a lot of Bills media outlets are talking about the Buffalo Bills picking up a running back in the NFL draft. A dual threat with Devin Singletary. And so first, I think people are underestimating TJ Yeldon, what he can do. But I like what Brandon Beane did, excuse me, in a talk with Pro Football Talk yesterday. He talked about Devin Singletary. He talked about what kind of running back Devin Singletary can be. And he talked about the possibility of Devin Singletary being the workhorse in the Buffalo Bills backfield. Now, what I truly believe about what he said yesterday is all smoke and mirrors, right? You don't want teams knowing that with the 54th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills are looking to get running back. Because then what do teams, running back needy teams, will be trading up to that 53 spot to take the running back right out from under you. If the Buffalo, or if another team is looking for a running back and they see that 53 pick available and they can get the 53rd overall pick and they know Buffalo is going to want running back at 54, they're going to go up and get him. They're going to move up and get him. And there's 4 running backs that you can look at that would be good enough to go 54th overall in this NFL draft. So what Coach McDermott tried to do here is he tried to put up a little smoke screen. And he said, listen, if we have to trust on Devin Singletary to be our working back, to be our workhorse, he can do it. He can do it. And guys, we have proof that he can do it. So last season, we all know what happened with Devin Singletary. Last season, the Buffalo Bills did not use Devin Singletary for most of the season. In fact, he only played in 12 games due to that hamstring injury. The Buffalo Bills let him nurse that hamstring injury to start the season. We know that Frank Gore was the starter. In fact, last year, Devin Singletary only had 151 carries. Now, there's plenty of reasons for that, and some of them really good reasons, right? We all know about the possibility of a lag of a first-year running back or first-year player, any skill position in the NFL. Just because, again, you're a senior, you're a junior in college, and then you go to the Senior Bowl, and then you go to the Combine, and then you have your Pro Day, and then you have rookie OTAs, and then you have the draft, and then you have rookie minicamp, and then you have training camp, and then you have the preseason. No break. No break, so you get tired. So there's that you have to consider, right? You have to consider the fact that these rookies sometimes get tired. Not to mention the mental wear and tear of where am I going in the draft? What do I have to bring to this place, that place? Am I going to make the 53-man roster? What is going to happen with me, right? So you think about the wear and tear in the season so you can understand why the Buffalo Bills take a little easy on Devin Singletary's first season. We have a veteran in Frank Gore. We have a veteran running back in Frank Gore. We're going to let him take on the workload to begin the season, and that's what they did. Frank Gore started week 1. In fact, Devin Singletary didn't see a carry week 1 until late into the third quarter. Frank Gore started week 2. Devin Singletary didn't see a carry until, I believe, late until the first quarter in game 2. And then what happened game 2? Hamstring injury, out 4 weeks with that hamstring, 5 weeks if you include the bye week, with that hamstring injury. So it really made Devin Singletary limited in the amount of carries they had. But in his 151 carries, he led the league in yards per carry for running backs with over 140 carries in the league. And that includes having a better runs per carry average than Derrick Henry. That's right, the same Derrick Henry who won the rushing title last season, who was a beast at the end of the year, who had 3, 4, 5 straight games of 150 yards or more. He had a 5.29 yards per carry average, did Devin Singletary. And again, you can say, well, he didn't have that big of a workload, right? Derrick Henry had over 300 carries. Devin Singletary only had 151. So that's why he was able to have such a high yards per carry. And I would agree with you. I would say, yeah, if he had 300 plus carries like Derrick Henry, we might see something in the low to mid fours as far as yards per carry for Devin Singletary. Still great. Still think that's awesome. But you also have to think about it. He had 775 rushing yards last season in 12 games, 151 carries. That's a little over 64 and a half yards per game for Devin Singletary. If he would have played all 16 games, that's over 1,000 yards rushing for a rookie running back. That's pretty good. Now, it's not as good as Kareem Hunt, who we talked about in the video that I released earlier today. So if you haven't checked it out, be sure to. Kareem Hunt, who, by the way, was an 86th overall draft pick. And do the Bills have the 86th overall draft pick? You better believe they do. So can the Buffalo Bills strike gold at running back at 86, find a guy who could possibly back up Devin Singletary and still do a pretty good job? Hopefully that's what we're hoping for, right? We're hoping the Buffalo Bills have the best 86th overall draft pick ever, and that includes beating out Hall of Famer Andre Reed, who the Buffalo Bills selected with the 86th overall pick back in 1985. So can Devin Singletary be the workhorse is the question. Can he carry the ball 340 times? Well, let's take a look, because in college at Florida Atlantic, he was the workhorse. He was the workhorse, and it wasn't even close. Gore's lack of production in the backfield of the season, in the back half of the season, is still baffling to me. Absolutely, because he was getting more rest, and he still couldn't get the job done. Yeldon could see a much bigger role. I felt like he got screwed out of playing time because Gore was there, possibly. And again, I think people are underestimating TJ Yeldon. The way our team is built, it's impossible for teams to know what we pick at 54. It's possible for teams, and it's possible for us as fans too. So again, I appreciate all the comments coming in. Will Lamar Jackson have more rushing yards than Devin Singletary? Probably. Unless Lamar Jackson can work on his outside accuracy to get players like Hollywood Brown into the game a little bit more, I think that he's going to find himself running the ball a lot. Now, again, he's dynamic enough to do it, and it's still young in his career, so he still has legs to do it. I'm more worried about the Cam Newton type effect, year 9, year 10. What's that going to look like, right? Because the more he runs outside the pocket, the less protection he gets from the officials. He might get hit harder than he's expecting to. He'll get hit harder in the NFL than he did run the ball at Louisville. He found that out a few times last season. He did a good job sliding, getting out of balance. As long as he can remember to do that, he's going to stay healthy. And yeah, I think he'll have more rushing yards than Devin Singletary. Unless Baltimore tries to use him as a passing quarterback, which I think would be dumb, just because I think Lamar Jackson, one of the biggest threats about Lamar Jackson is his dual threat capabilities. So I think you need to take advantage of that if you're Baltimore. But yeah, I expect Lamar Jackson to still run the ball plenty and get over 1,000 yards again this season. unless it's a cut short season, which I don't think it's going to be. Singletary could have been a 1,000-yard back. I believe he will be this year. Yeah, so Singletary, if averages persisted, and if he averaged 64.6 yards per carry yards per game last year in 12 games. If he would have played the other 4, he would have had over 1,000 yards total for the season. So in Florida Atlantic, he had 714 carries in 3 years. Now remember, college football play less games than the NFL, right? He only in 3 seasons he played 38 games compared to 3 seasons in the NFL. If you start all 16 games, would be 48 games. So he had in 10 less games, he had 714 carries. He averaged 18.78 carries per game. 18.78 carries per game. That's the workhorse. That's your workhorse type numbers right there. If you're averaging 19 carries a game in 16 games, what does that come out to be? I don't have my calculator here. I'm not great at math, guys, so you're going to have to excuse me for a second. But if you average 19 carries a game, you play 16 games, that's 304 carries in 16 games. Now, it's less than what Derrick Henry had last year, but can he do it? So, in 2017, he did have over 300 carries for Florida Atlantic. So we have to remember that in 14 games, I believe they played 14 games that year, he had over 300 carries. And they played in a bowl game. So can he be the workhorse? And can he continue to strive even those later parts of the season? 5.1 yards per carry average, I believe. Last year he had 5.29 yards per carry average, according to wherever I looked that up. I don't know where I looked that up. I think it was probably Pro Football Reference where I looked that up. But anyway, so in his last game in 2017, after he had over 300 carries that season versus Akron, and now you can argue this was versus Akron, right? But remember, Florida Atlantic's offensive line was not the Buffalo Bills' offensive line either, so you do have to take those both into perspective here. But against Akron, the 14th game of the season, 26 rush attempts, 124 yards, that's 4.8 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Come 3 touchdowns. So I feel like he proved his junior season, I'm sorry, not his junior season, sophomore season, he came out as a junior, his sophomore season, that if you made him the workload, again, had over 300 carries that year, and in that last game, still 26 attempts, 124 yards, and 3 touchdowns, he's proving that he can get the job done. Singletary, get it? Because he's the workhorse, hot. So he can still get the job done. I think Brandon Beane is trying to maybe pull a smoke screen over some teams' eyes and say, hey, we're not necessarily looking at running back. And the good news is we don't have to look at running back at 54, right? There's plenty of running backs in this draft. Now, the running back depth won't be as deep as the wide receiver draft, but there's plenty of depth at running back in this year's draft. I mean, obviously, everyone knows about the big names up front, right? The Swifts, players like that. But there's still players that you can get in the 3rd round that are going to be plenty good enough to be a backup to Devin Singletary. I mean, we all know about the Mosses of the world and the other guys I named, I can't remember right now. Zach Moss out of Utah and J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State. We know about those guys, and I would love to get a Jonathan Taylor out with Wisconsin. We love those guys. But Anthony McFarland out of Maryland, pretty good pickup. He'll be there. He'll be available. Joshua Kelly, look up Joshua Kelly's stats. UCLA, look up what Joshua Kelly did last year. And now, of course, he had a Kelly at head coach who loves that spread type offense, so obviously a little bit different. But if you look at his stats, man, they're pretty impressive. Pretty impressive out of Joshua Kelly. And then you have Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State. Love those small school kids. He'll be available in the 3rd, 4th round. Definitely someone that you could pick. Hey, Milkman, how you doing, Milkman? Guys, if you're a gamer, go over to Milkman Sharp's YouTube page. He's gaming over there. Call of Duty is what he's doing right now, but he's grinding it out. So make sure you go over there, watch his content. If you are a gamer, doing a good job over there, busting his butt. So check him out. Again, some of these comments, Lyman Cut caught up to Devin from behind, LOL. Well, we knew last year from his 40 time he's not going to be the fastest guy in the world. 20, 30-yard runs could have been touchdowns by other players. We don't have a Ezekiel Elliott. We don't have a Saquon Barkley. We don't have a guy like that. And you know what? But very few teams do, right? Very few teams have those guys. They're once in a while talents for a reason, right? Now I'm not gonna say the once in a lifetime, but there's a reason why these guys are so touted. I believe Ezekiel Elliott was the 4th overall pick when he was drafted. Saquon Barkley was the 2nd overall pick. There's a reason why you would spend a top 5 pick on a running back, and that's because he is a rare talent. So we don't have that. But we have a guy that's pretty dang good, a guy that can get you over 1,000 yards rushing a season, a guy that gets you anywhere between 12 and 1,500 all-purpose yards. Absolutely, man. You know I love you, so I'll do it all day. Steve Hampton comes in. They may pick up a running back in the draft. I'm actually expecting Yeldon gets the running back 2 this year. I think they signed him to a 2-year contract with a plan. I think that it would be interesting to see if the same thing happens to Yeldon that happened to Gore last year, right? So we draft a running back. We have him sit behind Yeldon. We have him sit. Maybe he doesn't make the 53-man roster for the first few weeks of the season. Yeldon does a serviceable job. And then all of a sudden, you see whoever we pick out at running back coming in there. And that's another thing. Remember how I talked about the Andre Roberts trade potentially earlier in this video? Well, wouldn't it be interesting if the Buffalo Bills get a guy, a running back, who could take over that special teams position, right? Because listen, a running back like Anthony McFarland, for example, he would be a great special teams guy because of his speed, right? And you're talking about a guy in Devin Singletary who got caught from behind last year, right? He doesn't have that speed. He doesn't have that next level speed. So if you're talking about a guy to get you that speed, that's McFarland. So you bring in, you have Singletary, you have Yeldon as your backup, your RB2, and you have McFarland as your running back 3/special teams guy. Could be some dangerous things. And then you have a guy in TJ Yeldon, 6'2", a good back out of the backfield, can catch the ball. Line him up in the slot. Line up in the slot, have Devin Singletary in the backfield, and then you still McFarland on the bench. So if something happens to Singletary, something happens to Yeldon, you have another guy right there. Very interesting what the Buffalo Bills can do here. I think that the Buffalo Bills are set in this draft to go after best player available, right? Best player available, and that means with 54, we could go running back, we could go defensive end, we could go cornerback, we could go a lot of different ways. Wide receiver, why not go wide receiver? I know we picked up Stephon Diggs, but we still need to get length, right? We need to get tall. So let's say for some reason Higgins is still there at 54. Why? I don't know. Who thought Metcalf would be there with the last pick of the 2nd round last year, right? The depth is huge in the wide receiver class, so that means it might take a little bit for wide receivers to start falling. And if it takes a little bit, let's say Judy goes in the top 10, and that's it. That's it. The only wide receiver to go in the top 10 is Judy. Now all of a sudden teams are like, wait, we can hold off. And then the 2nd round comes, teams start going after him. One of these guys goes back further than we thought. If that's Higgins, possibly the Buffalo Bills pick him up. Roberts has very little trade value. His only value is as a return man. Offers little as a wide receiver. Then don't trade him. Just drop him straight up. Just drop him. I'm sure if we go a spot track, I'm sure we'd be saving money over the long run, right? Daniel, I know you probably know this already because you pretty much have this stuff down. So I appreciate that about you. Might have been a sport track. What the heck's my problem? But yeah, let's say we just cut him, right? We have a rookie on a rookie deal that we get in the 3rd, 4th round. What am I looking for? Oh, it goes by last name. Stupid. Go by first name. Andre is so much easier to find. Yeah. So Andre Roberts just do $2 million, 500,000. That's guaranteed. So 500,000 that would be dead cap. You're saving 1.5 million. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you can get better or equal production from a different guy that adds to that, KJ Hamler, that's another good pick. Truth to Hearts, just an idea. What if we drafted Shenault and use him like a running back and wide receiver, get 2 for the price of 1? Well, here's the problem with Shenault. Chenault has. I like Chenault. I like what he can provide through roster. But Chenault has injury concerns. So if you draft Chenault, do you want to put him in more pressure situations? Do you want him on the field more often? Do you want him to take more carries? Do you want him running the ball up the middle at any point? Probably not. Right? I like Chenault, and at 54, I think he's definitely worth a look at 54. And if he's available at 86, definitely take him. Definitely take him. But with those injury concerns, especially considering team doctors can't look at him due to the virus that's been going around, I feel like that you don't want him doing too much, especially his rookie year. Especially his rookie year. So I want to look into that. Joshua comes in. I'm not big on Chenault. Yeah, I wasn't big at Chenault at 22. Early draft rankings had us taking Chenault possibly at 22. Wasn't a fan of that. Talking about 54 now, I think that would be worth possibly a Chenault type talent. I think that we have other concerns right now than wide receiver. But if Chenault's the best available, then we absolutely take Chenault. I trust this GM. I trust this management team for the Buffalo Bills to make the right selections. I trust their big board more than I trust mine. And I'll tell you guys my big board when that time comes next week. There's a lot of good draft prospects out there. When we go into round 2, maybe before the draft starts, I'll get on here. If I can't. Oh, maybe Saturday. I'll be able to get on here Saturday before the draft starts and give you some of my big board prospects that are still available, my best available. I'll do my best Mel Kiper impression on day 2 of the NFL draft. Again, don't know if I'll be live for draft day coverage. There'll be plenty of draft day coverage on YouTube. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure #SportsCover1 will both be doing something, so make sure you check them out as well. Get you guys to take the roof off. That's where we got in Diggs, though, isn't it? What we need is a guy like Chase Claypool. I love me size right now, right? Again, there's a reason why the coach calls Smurfs just last year. Our wide receiver coach Smurfs just last year. We need some guy to get tall. We need a guy other than Dawson Knox in the red zone that we can throw the ball up to and he can come down with it. A guy that I'm not hearing too much about who I would love to get now, and it doesn't sound like a position need, and it's really not. But let's pretend Kmet from Notre Dame, tight end, is still available at 54. You're talking about dangerous then. You're talking about a dangerous 1-2 tight end combination. And if he's there at 54, I don't know if you can look past him. I really don't. So that's something that's interesting to me as well. You want a running back with hybrid, but look at Antonio Gibson. I have looked at Antonio Gibson, and he's someone who also would be available possibly day 3 of the NFL draft. I think that would be a great pickup as well. Someone that a lot of teams don't really see as a fit for some schemes. I think he'd fit well in Buffalo, and I think he'd be, like you said, a hybrid type guy, that speed type guy that the Buffalo Bills might need to complement Devin Singletary. Chenault looks like a player who relies on speed and build, not techniques. Speed can get you a lot of places. Now, I know we don't have Oakland Raiders GMs running the show here like Davis was, but speed can get you places. I'm sure Chenault's a little upset he couldn't run his speed at the pro day. Remember, he had a slow 40 time at the combine compared to now it was fast compared to me. I think his was like 4 minutes and 4.3, 4.4. I would be like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So he had a fast time compared to me, but I think it was slower than what a lot of experts projected. So I'm pretty sure he was looking forward to run 40 on his pro day. Obviously, pro days all got canceled, and he got injured at the draft anyway. So I'm not sure if he would have been available to do that. And you have to think that's going to hurt his draft stock as well when it comes to the NFL draft. Again, the fact that team doctors can't look at him to see how healthy he's going to be. Really surprised that I haven't heard that hurting Tua's stock a little bit more, but we all know how important that quarterback position is in the NFL. Guys, I do want to thank you for joining me for this live edition of Believers Talk. Again, some of the things we talked about in this video, and we'll go through them again. First and foremost, I think the most important thing is today on WGR 550, former Buffalo Bills tight end Mark Campbell talked about his fight with the virus that's been going around and that's been taking this world by storm. And we just are happy that Mark Campbell is doing better. We're happy that he could share his story on WGR and that, hopefully he was influential to other people who were listening at the time to his story and to his fight and hopefully they can learn from that and lean on that as they need to. So we talked about that. We talked about the fact that the Buffalo Bills strength and conditioning coach won NFL Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. That's Eric Ciano. He's been the Buffalo Bills strength and conditioning coach since 2011. So congratulations to him. Again, something probably well-deserved. A lot of Bills players talked about that, talked about how well-deserving he was for that award. So congratulations. We talked about the possibility of the NFL getting rid of challenges for pass interference calls in 2020. Again, in 2019, as of week 9, only 5 of 54 pass interference challenges were overturned for less than 10%. Now, the second half of the season, they overdid it. They overturned it 40%. Now, that's a combination of overdoing it plus it not being challenged as much because coaches knew it's going to take a lot to get this overturned. But again, they overdid it a little bit towards the end of the season. So the NFL looking to get rid of that or at least tweak it in some way, shape, or form. We talk about Coach McDermott's record on challenges. 3 of 15 on challenges is Coach McDermott. That's not going to be good enough to get the job done in the NFL. And then last but not least, including some chats that we had from you guys. Again, I really appreciate all the support. We also had to talk about Devin Singletary, GM Brandon Beane yesterday on Pro Football Talk. Talked about Devin Singletary potentially being the workhorse in the Buffalo Bills backfield. Again, me personally, I think that's a little bit of a smokescreen. I think that the Buffalo Bills will be looking at running back in the NFL draft. However, this was the time last year that we picked up TJ Yeldon. So are we looking at the free agent market, maybe looking at like a Carlos Hyde, someone like that who could come in and play that supporting role as a number 3 running back behind Devin Singletary and TJ Yeldon? We'll see what happens. If Chenault is a package type player in his earlier years, that limits his risk of injury. I don't think he'll be anything like Sammy. Well, you just never know, and you want to avoid things like Sammy. But again, Sammy was a different thing. We traded up to get Sammy, which again annoyed me to no end. I can't even tell you guys how much that annoyed me. In a deep wide receiver class, we traded up to get a wide receiver in the first round. Like, what we had to give up to get Sammy was just way too much. Now, if we moved up in the second round to get a wide receiver, that's a little different story. We wouldn't have to give up as much, obviously, so I'd be okay with that. And it also obviously depends on the wide receiver. Again, if T. Higgins is still available at 45, do you move up to 45 to get T. Higgins and give up a 4th this year and a 4th next year? I think we actually already gave up our 4th next year. But you go up maybe a 3rd this year and a 3rd next, or a 4th this year and a 3rd next year, something like that. Plenty of package deals that you come up with are 3rd this year, 5th next year. Plenty of package deals you could come up with, and I will be giving you my mock draft, and it looks like I'll be doing a mock draft both with trades and without trades. I'll do a full first-round mock. Won't be as exciting, of course, because the Buffalo Bills don't have a first-round pick, but I'll also be doing a full Buffalo Bills 7-round mock draft with and without trades, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll have a good time. I'll be doing my trades, mostly picks. I don't think I'll be messing around with players too much. But I'll be looking at the trade chart value to see what each one is. Elliot, thank you very much. And again, guys, thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. Had a great time hanging out with you guys. Been about an hour and 15 minutes. It's always fun. You guys do a great job keeping the chat active, so I really do appreciate it. Again, if you are a gamer, my cousin and he joined us for the chat for Milkman Sharp, doing Call of Duty right now. So if you're a gamer looking for something to do during the quarantine, check him out. Give him a like, give him a follow. I would really appreciate it. I'm sure he would too. As long as we don't draft a kicker, I'll be happy. Well, we could draft a kicker just in the 7th round, right? Let's not get a kicker in the 2nd round. Let's not pull a New Jersey Jets and do something stupid like that. We haven't yet. Trust the process. I trust Brandon Beane. I trust Coach McDermott. They'll get the job done, and I trust this team to possibly make a Super Bowl run in 2020. I look forward to doing it all with you right here on Believers Talk. So make sure if you haven't hit that subscribe button, you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the topics we talked about. Do you think Devin Singletary could and will be the workhorse for the Buffalo Bills in 2020? Thanks again for joining me. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.